Ignat's corner, beyond Bent. Janssen! And Blackburn Rovers are 18 minutes away from a Premiership return.
As far as Stewart, just outside the penalty area, clips it central for David Dunn. David Dunn equalises! It just had to be! Dack's corner and it goes, glance towards goal! And Rovers have taken the lead! And Charlie Mulgrew has scored his 14th of the season. It may well be the goal that sends Rovers back into the Championship.
Good evening, Rovers fans, and welcome to another live edition of On the Other Side with me, Ryan Hildred from Rovers Chat. We've got a little bit of a twist tonight for On the Other Side as we combine it with our pre-match stream. So for the first 45 minutes or so, it'll be a usual episode of On the Other Side with Brady, and then we will move into our live stream as we preview the game and get that reaction to the live team news. It was a disappointing home draw for Rovers last time out, 1-1 with Sheffield Wednesday. And we're on the road now for our final two games of this 12-game block that we've had over the autumn-winter period. So it's Huddersfield Town up next this evening, and I'm delighted to be joined by Brady Frost from the Takes That Chance podcast. How are you, Brady?
I'm good, mate. Thanks for having me on.
No worries. Thank you for joining us. But just a reminder to our Rovers fans, before we start this mammoth doubleheader, we are sponsored by 6yardsout.com.
The Rovers Chat YouTube channel is proudly sponsored by 6yardsout.com. They've got retro football from every era with mugs, phone cases and much more. They also have plenty of Rovers goods, including apparel with the famous 94-95 season and this season's kit. Check them out using the link in the description below.
Thank you, as ever, to 6yardsout.com for their very kind sponsorship. And just as a little reminder to everyone, we're going to be doing the raffle draw on New Year's Eve for the Rovers home or away shirt. So if you've not donated yet to rcdonate.com, we've raised £730 so far for the Salvation Army over Christmas time, which we're really, really happy about. But we'll be doing some form of draw on New Year's Eve for the raffle. So get your donations in. Every £1 donated equals a raffle ticket entry. So there's still a chance to do that over the next few days, and we will let you know when that is closed off. As ever, Rovers fans, please do interact with us this evening in the comments box. We will pick up your comments through the show as we usually do. And if you're not subscribed to our YouTube channel, it is Rovers Chat on YouTube. Hit that subscribe button. And we are Rovers_chat on Twitter. So that's all the lingo sorted at the start, Brady. So let's get on with the match preview. I was looking at Huddersfield last season, and it was a tough old season last season, wasn't it? You know, back in the Championship following relegation, and in the end, only 3 points from safety. 18th possibly isn't what you're expecting last season. But after securing one of the highest rated young managers in Danny Cowley, you know, was there a feeling of underachievement last season?
It was really difficult. I mean, obviously we'd been in the Premier League for 2 years, and that was nothing short of a miracle, really. First to only get promoted, and then to stay up by the skin of our teeth. So it just kind of, and still is really, all came crashing down, and that kind of fell into last season. I mean, when the Cowleys joined, I believe we only had 1 point after the first 7 games, and the job they took was actually no manager had ever, no team had ever stayed up from that position. So again, it was just all about survival. I think it was a disappointment. I'm not going to sit here and say that was a great season. It was one that just needed to get done and dusted. And to be honest, at one point it looked like we were going to get relegated, because we started after football started up after the pandemic. We started terribly, and it looked like we were stinking. But not a great into the season. It's been slightly better this season, but we've had a lot of ups and downs, really. And I think this is going to be a season of stability, or at least I hope so.
Yeah. And what went wrong with the Cowleys? Because I actually live in Lincolnshire, so I've been close to what the Cowleys have been doing with Lincoln City, all over the local press. From what I saw, you really broke the bank to go and get them. And they were probably the highest rated managers in the Football League at the time that you went and got them. it didn't seem like they got much time to make their mark in the end. You know, what went wrong with them in the end?
It's hard. Well, it's difficult to say, really. I mean, I was quite disappointed when the Cowleys got dismissed. I think a lot of Town fans now, when you compare it to the new manager, they say Cowley's style of football wasn't that great, and that was also the reason the club gave. They want a more exciting brand of football. But the thing I'd caveat with that is the Cowleys, like I mentioned earlier, you know, they were brought in to keep us up. So it doesn't matter for me as long as they did their job, which they did. There is kind of rumours flying around. They took the position of manager, whereas you kind of find with a lot of football clubs now it's head coach, and you have the recruitment team and so on and so forth. So that was kind of something that was rumoured. But I think our chairman, who has actually made a lot of good business decisions, but is a bit kind of Marmite with our supporters. I think it was possibly, didn't see eye to eye, and the football wasn't great, and that was kind of the reason we've got in Carlos now. But I thought the Cowleys did a great job. I was really pleased they were my first choice, and I do think they'll go on to be Premier League managers eventually. I think they've got something about them. But yeah, it just wasn't meant to be, unfortunately.
So it is one of Marcelo Bielsa's disciples now, Carlos Corberán, at the helm at Huddersfield, and he's only 37 years old, but he's been under the wing of a huge name at Championship level and indeed world football level. What is the view on Corberán so far, and what he's brought to your side?
Well, just from my own personal perspective, I think he's done fantastic. He signed a new deal till 2024, I think just before Christmas, and fully deserves it. I mean, the thing is, at the start of the season, I was worried we'd be in a relegation scrap, to be quite honest with you, because we had an even weaker squad than we did last season. But he's come in, he's done a fantastic job. We're playing a lot more exciting football. I'm actually excited to watch a Huddersfield game rather than watching it through my over the sofa. But yeah, Corberán's done a great job. I think kind of testament. We've heard good things. Obviously this is the first time he's been a manager in England. He has been a manager in other countries like Cyprus, but he was actually at Leeds before Bielsa came in. A lot of people don't realise that, and he's one of the few people who actually broke into Bielsa's team, because he has his team where he goes everywhere. So it was kind of credit to Carlos that there's something about him. And yeah, like we've seen that on the pitch. Players. I think of Isaac and Benza, who we spent 10 million on, absolute flop. And I don't think any Town fan would have said to you, he's going to be a fantastic player this season for us. But Corberán's worked with him, and he's been fantastic. I think Josh Koroma, who's unfortunately out injured, he's been fantastic as well. Top scorer, I think, still, even though he's going to be out for 3 months. And his ability to work with players who most managers had written off, before the Cowleys as well, is testament to him. And the football is exciting. Like I say, it's fantastic to watch. Although frustrating, because we don't sit up, sit deep when we go ahead. We still go for it to sometimes success, to sometimes tearing your hair out as a fan. But hey, it's exciting to watch Huddersfield again, so I can't complain.
Yeah, and you've touched on what my next question was going to be, actually, Brady. So I think the Cowleys were certainly associated, and if I think of what I saw in the press in Lincolnshire, they were associated with a more direct, physical style of football, and then obviously Bielsa is associated with that high energy, high press type of game. Is that what you're seeing under Huddersfield now? That latter Bielsa style, high energy, high press? Yeah,
there is a couple of differences to like if you look at Leeds in the Championship last season and now. But yeah, we're a lot more intense. I think a lot of our play comes from our most attacking players, which is our fullbacks, so Pieper and Harry Toffolo. So a lot of the amount of running they must do a game. I've not checked the stats, but you can kind of see it. The eye test, it seems to be a hell of a lot. And yeah, it is. Like I say, we still seem to go for it. Corberán's kind of mentality was he wants to pass the ball forward at any opportunity, and I know that's a kind of an obvious thing to say as a manager, but they do believe that we're always looking on the front foot. I think what is kind of interesting though, and I did kind of notice that with Leeds last season as well. I've not really seen a full 90 minutes where we've been amazing. We've been great for 30, terrible for 30, or okay, and it just kind of seems to be like that. But it's like I mentioned, it's a lot more exciting to watch. We've scored a couple of goals already that you can kind of hang your hat on as a fan. You know, starts from the keeper, and then about 8-9 passes later, it's in the back of the net, and you know, it's fantastic to watch. And we've not seen anything like that at Huddersfield for a very long time.
No, it's just I wanted to ask you that question just because, as I say, I've heard it all in Lincolnshire and Lincoln City and things. And before we move on from Corberán, you know, we've got to talk about the Chinos, and they've got quite the record, it seems. So, you know, for a place like Huddersfield, you know, a good old Yorkshire town, how's Chinos going down and their association with your side?
Yeah, I think if it carries on like this, I think they might have to order extra stock in Huddersfield. But yeah, no, it's one of those strange little quirks. I mean, what's quite good as well is Corberán's. He's been quite serious in his post-match conferences. Danny Cowley was a lot more bit of a charmer, shall we say? But yeah, even he was kind of getting in on it after we beat Watford, and you know, it's great. It's great. I mean, you know, if like I say, if he carries on like this. You know, I'll have to get a pair myself.
Excellent. So if we look at your start to the season so far then, Brady, you're a point behind Rovers in 14th position, 28 points. You've had the 8 wins, 4 draws, 9 defeats. So you're 8 points off the playoffs, but 12 off the relegation zone. So how are fans viewing that kind of start to the season?
I think, like I say, a lot of us were feeling quite negative given the squad. So I think most Town fans would be happy with that. I think some of the frustration at the moment is because it's a bit of a crazy season. Obviously, you've got the relegated teams who are going to be up there, but it does kind of feel like the playoffs, that last playoff spot, is kind of open. So I think the issue at the moment is, do we kind of stick with what we've got or twist and get some players in January to really push us up there? I think it's been a great start. I think, again, I think we'll be where we are now, just given the squad depth. Like I said, we've got a few key injuries, and I think that's going to kind of hinder us. But yeah, I think we're kind of too inconsistent. We've had some eye-catching wins, obviously beat Swansea away, but you know, we can win 3-2 against Middlesbrough. You know, when we played them, they had the second best defensive record in the league, and then you lose 4-3 at Stoke, and that's just kind of how the season's been in a nutshell. You know, we seem to be that team that wins one, loses one, and draws one, and like in every 3 games. And I think that's ultimately was going to kind of hinder us. And you talk about the amount of games we've had to play. I mean, I'm sure you guys know I've been a podcast, but I feel like all I've been doing is talking about a match every 2 days. So God knows what the players are like. So
it has felt like that, absolutely. And you've touched on something there, Brady, which I think this is quite an intriguing position for Huddersfield, actually. So, you know, 8 points away from the playoffs with a large number of clubs in the mix. You know, is there any kind of hope that you go on a bit of a run in the new year and get yourself into that playoff contention? Or is there still that feeling of, let's just reconsolidate, if that's even a word, at championship level and see what happens next season, maybe? You know, where do you sit on that, and where do you think the majority of your fans sit? You know, stick or twist, as you say.
Yeah, I think it's tricky. I mean, you know, I'd be lying if I said, like, you know, of course I'd be happy if we like snuck into the playoffs, but I do think, given we've had such highs, like I talked about at the start of the show, and you know, nearly did Sunderland last season, I do think this club needs some stability. It kind of needs to be, you know, the ambition of the chairman is to be a top 30 club in England, and I do think we're not really, if we're being honest, the squad at the moment is kind of overachieving. So for myself in January, we've got some injuries. If we can get the people to improve the squad long term in January, I'd say do it. But we have kind of, I mean, Danny Cowley last season, you know, he brought in a lot of short-term solutions like Richard Stearman, you know, 30-year-old defenders. And I think this club, we've got a lot of players out of contract in the summer. And I think it's going to be an important summer. So if we can build, I think this season I want some stability. I want us to be comfortably mid-table, you know, and we can see that it's going somewhere. You know, I look at Bielsa. Obviously, he had a bit of a better squad than us, but took him for the second season to click. You look at Farke at Norwich, second season as well. And I do think if Corberán's backed, I think I'm not saying he'll necessarily go and win the league, but I do think we can be up there and around the playoffs. But yeah, I think we kind of need to. We've got a lot of young players who need to be bedded into the squad. The squad depth isn't great anyway, and I do think it's a season for consolidation. And if we can get one or two people who can help us long term, then for sure. But yeah, I think the playoffs will be a stretch too much, to be honest.
It's more of a hope rather than expectation, really. Nice if it happens, but if not, yeah. So if we move on to the game itself then, Brady, last 7 games, it's 3 wins all at home, including the one over Watford, which is an impressive result. And then it's 1 draw, 3 defeats all away from home. So is the home form looking stronger for you this season? And therefore, are Rovers going to find the Terriers a really tough proposition on home soil tonight? You know, what's your approach being at home?
It's strange, really, because the approach is quite similar. It's one of those weird quirks. I know, because we attack at home and we attack away. I think what we've kind of found is we do seem to, again, it kind of filters, but what I've kind of noticed recently at home is we tend to start quite quick. Whereas I think we're kind of, because we can set the tempo of being at home, whereas I think when we find a way, it's kind of how the opposition kick things off. So yeah, it's just a bit of a weird one. I think we've been scoring a lot of goals at home, which is always good to see, and especially when there's not really a home advantage at the moment, given the circumstances. But I think the Watford game, which was our last game at home, that was quite interesting because, again, we started quite well and we forced the other team into mistakes. So quite a lot this season, we've been caught out, playing out from the back and just being rubbish at it, to be quite honest. And that kind of worked our way. But yeah, we might see us. I could see both teams scoring tonight. I'm sure we'll come on to the game in a little bit more, but I think you guys, have the firepower. We can't keep a clean sheet, really, and we like to score as well. So I do think it'll be a high-scoring game, but I suppose it kind of depends. I think you guys will score, but for us, I think it depends what kind of Huddersfield turns up. Is it going to be the one that comes flying out the traps, or is it the one that works so hard to get a goal and then gives away one so cheaply? It's kind of hard to say.
And the quick starts is really interesting that you say that, because Rovers last season, we were on our own in terms of goals in the first 15 minutes. It was actually ridiculous. I think we had something like 15, 16, and then the next nearest club was on something like 8. But we've actually shifted that completely this season. And I saw on Saturday a stat popped up during one of the championship games. We've got the most goals now in the last 15 minutes. So that's sometimes because we've been pegged back or we've gone behind or whatever. So Rovers have really shifted where we're doing things. And what you've said there about the early goal, we are going to talk about that tonight on our pre-match stream, actually, because we've seen those stats as well. So we've got to be on it. And one thing that Rovers do not like is going behind in a game. It's really important for Rovers to get that first goal. So I'm sure that Corberan's going to be looking at that and going, hit these on, let's get them early and see if we can play your style, as you say. So that does fill me with a bit of nervousness, I must say. So in terms of the squad then, you've referenced this actually, Brady, as well. So apologies if you have already answered it. There's been quite the turnover in your squad since relegation, hasn't there? So in terms of the likes of Aaron Moy, Izzy Brown, Naki Wells, who got you promoted, they're no longer there. But you've still got some good performers at this level in the likes of Alex Pritchard and Fraser Campbell. Who are the danger men going to be for Rovers tonight?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think it's an interesting one, Alex Pritchard, because I think he's kind of never really hit the heights at Town, but everyone seems to be like, oh, he was really good. I wouldn't be surprised if he does better at a different club. But anyway, sorry, kind of rambling there. I think the key men for us, I would say Isaac and Benza. I think for me, he's been the most improved player we've had this season. He's direct. He scored a couple of free kicks this season as well, so he's dangerous at set pieces, and he's really committed. I think that's one of the big changes since Corberan took over. A lot of commitment from players. Campbell, he's not a prolific goal scorer, but I would say he'd be one to watch out for, because for me, we had Danny Ward who rejoined the club, but he's out injured at the moment. But Campbell, for me, brings out the best of Benza and Koroma when Koroma's playing on the left, because he is a bit like that Bamford figure of, being up front, kind of, spreading the defence, causing problems, pulling people left, right and centre. And he is kind of one to watch out for. what kind of surprised me was, again, he only got 3 goals last season, which is not really what you want for a striker, but I think he's already bettered that tally this season. But what I've kind of noticed from him is when you watch goals back, or you check in on the team, you see his movement, and he just he can drag that defender at the right time. And fair play to him. He's been really crucial this season, especially given our number one striker was meant to be Danny Ward, and he's been pretty much injured all the campaign. So Campbell and Benza, I think one who's kind of gone on under the radar, and I don't really want to talk about him too much because I don't want other teams to know about him. But Carol Lighting, who we got from Ajax, he's been a bit off the boil the last couple of games, but it's such a coup to get him on loan from Ajax, and he has that something else. He can just pull a cracking pass out of nowhere, or really get us kind of ticking. And he was, I think he was adjusting to the physicality of the Championship, and I still think he is. But when on his day, fantastic player. Great player to watch.
Is he centre midfielder? Is he?
Yes, he is. Yeah.
Okay, and I won't get you to say any more about him so that the scouts aren't circling. So in terms of areas of weakness then that Rovers might be able to exploit in Huddersfield, injuries you've already referenced, it seems to be hampering everyone. Every fan I chat to before every game, injuries are just decimating the Championship at the moment. Have you got key men missing tonight? Where are those areas of weakness with the players that you've got out that we might be able to exploit?
Yeah, so as I kind of mentioned, our top scorer Karam is out for 3 months, as is Christopher Schindler. One of the people who's been there since the promotion to the Premier League and the fallout from that. He's out for 3 months. I'd say Huddersfield's weakness is our kind of centre backs. We have Naby Sarr playing, which who we were kind of talking about before we did this, but he kind of sums up Huddersfield for me this season. He's fantastic one game. He's absolutely diabolical the next, and you just don't know what you're going to get from him. He's been caught out a couple of times when we've tried to play out the back, passing it straight to a striker for them to score, or, just generally being a bit indecisive. So, if I was a Blackburn fan, I think of your firepower, that's where I can kind of see you getting a bit of joy. If you're forcing us, when we do try and play out the back, if you're pressing us high, you could cause us some problems. Edmonds Green, who's our other centre back, who's been pairing Naby Sarr, he's still a young lad. He was only on loan at Swindon in League Two last season, but he's been impressive. But you can still see that kind of naivety you get with younger players. Our centre backs for sure are ones to target. I think Pippa and Toffolo are great going forward, but they do leave gaps in behind. And as I kind of say, I think this game's going to be, I hope I'm right, and I hope I've not jinxed it as a boring game, but I do think this is going to be a great one for the neutral. I think it could be kind of a high-scoring draw.
We've had a couple of questions come in, Brady. So FM Works has made the point here. Huddersfield centre-backs are like Rovers at the moment, inconsistent. Yeah, we're really, on paper, we've got 2 great centre-backs in Lenihan and Ayala. But yeah, we just struggle to get that partnership going at the moment. So we have had some goals against us. And then Ollie James has asked the question here, Brady. Are those 2 centre-backs, or indeed the full-backs as well, are your defenders quick?
So Edmonds Green is quite quick. So his recovery pace is pretty good. Naby Sarr is good at getting back. I think the issue is he does love a last-ditch sliding tackle, which if you pull it off, looks great. If you don't, it's a penalty, and that's kind of happened for us a couple of times. So they're not the quickest, but they're not slow. If that answers your question.
I think it does. We'll take that as an answered question. Ollie can comment again if it didn't answer the question. So Brady, if we flip focus then, what's your views on Rovers this season? Every fan I've chatted to seems to have quite a lot of good things to say about Rovers, whereas us as a fan base at times we've been quite frustrated with some of our results. What's your view on Rovers and what you've seen?
Yeah, I've not seen loads of yourselves, if I'm being completely honest, but I know some of the, obviously Adam Armstrong. You can't ignore that guy. He's a fantastic finisher. He seems to have really blossomed this last 18 months, and similar to us with Carlin Grant, I wouldn't be surprised if probably shouldn't say this on your pod, but I think he's going to be a Premier League player eventually, given if he carries this on. I just Blackburn Rovers for me, they just you're great. You've got some great attacking players, and I've seen some of the it's always kind of a tough game when we play you guys. And yeah, you again, I think you're an exciting team to watch for a neutral. I know you've had a lot of injuries, particularly at centre back as well, and that can be frustrating because speaking as a Huddersfield fan, it's something we've got as well. But I look at like Harvey Elliott. I mean, that came out of the blue, and he's fantastic. Like I watched Keep Up with the Championship, and it just different class, and like such a coup for you guys to get him. And he's one I'll be keeping my eye on for sure. And even players like is it, am I saying it right, Brereton, Ben Brereton? Yeah,
although he has repronounced his name in recent weeks, so who knows how it's pronounced?
Right, fair enough. Yeah, I think again, someone you signed a fair bit of money for, and it seems to be kind of doing that. But I think I'd kill for a forward line like you guys, because you've even got Sam Gallagher, who's always a nuisance, and I think you've got that real depth up front, and you've got some grafters as well. Like Bradley Johnson for me kind of sums up the Championship, like hard worker, and he's even been filling in at centre back. So you're a good side to watch. I think you're a bit. If I kind of look at you guys at the moment, and I think you're kind of a step ahead of us, because you're always kind of around the playoffs. And again, I know you're not the most cash heavy team, but for me, from an outside perspective, it doesn't look like you're far off from kind of knocking on the playoffs.
Yeah, we there's so much in our melting pot at the moment, and every stream that we do, our comments are absolutely divided about where Rovers should be, what we're doing. We've got so much right at our club now after so many years of wrong, and we've really addressed our style of play with possession, and we've got the academy producing, and we play some nice stuff, and we keep the ball. It's, as you say, it's that jump into the top six. It's that little leap that we're just struggling to make at the moment, and it really is agitating the fan base. And there's a whole spectrum of opinions of where Rovers should be at the moment, and yeah, it's all in that melting pot. But we'll see where we get to further on in the season. So this is the part of the show where I do like to do links between the playing squad of the opposition. So in this case, Huddersfield, of course, and then Rovers. And I've dredged deep for current players playing for Huddersfield that may have played for Rovers, and I've come up short. So Rovers fans watching in, if you can tell me one, I've struggled to find one based on Wikipedia and Google and things. But hit us in the comments box if there is someone for Huddersfield who has an association with Rovers in the current squad, or indeed backroom staff. So the very, very tedious link that I've gone for is Naby Sarr, who you've already spoken about, Brady. We were linked with him in the summer amongst some other centre-backs as well. And as I've referenced, centre-back does just remain an area for us that we do just need to get that consistent partnership going. You've referenced it a little bit already. How has Naby Sarr done for Huddersfield so far?
Yeah, again, like I kind of touched on, I noticed someone commented. I just thought of Jordan Rhodes while you were talking then, but I'm sure we can wax lyrical about him. But yeah, Naby Sarr, he again, really inconsistent. Fantastic one game, struggles the next. But it was quite interesting. I spoke to a Charlton fan when we got him in the summer, because, like you say, you guys were linked, and when we signed him, it's like, this is quite impressive. And he although he has lapses in concentration, he is a very good ball carrier, and he's great at playing out from the back at times. And more than I'd say kind of any of the other centre backs we've got. I think it's just he's so inconsistent, and you can kind of see why. Because again, he's played in the Champions League. He's played for Sporting Lisbon in the Champions League, and he's been at good teams in the past, and then obviously ended up at Charlton. And you can kind of see why he didn't really kick on, because he just can't seem to get a run of games together. The Charlton fan I spoke to, I can't remember his name, but kind of summed him up as a roller coaster player. He gets you out of your seat 1 minute. He actually told me Lee Bowyer said he was the best finisher at the club last season. And he's scored a couple of free kicks and good goals, which is not what you expect him. But yeah, he's that player. Just so inconsistent, which is why you can see why he is in the Championship. But on his day, he's fantastic when he does stuff right.
Yeah. And just a shout out to Ollie and to FM Works. How am I going to forget a man like Jordan Rhodes? Of course not. It's current players who play for Huddersfield who I was looking for. So we can sit and just talk about Jordan Rhodes for about 20 minutes. But it's players who are currently at Huddersfield who I was looking for, which is why I've gone for the tedious link of Naby Sarr, because there is no one unless someone can find one. So, Brady, we've reached a part of the show where I'm just going to get your take on how you think the game is going to go and what your prediction is. We've just had a couple of comments, though. So, Callum Robinson said, damn it, I was looking forward to this game. Now Brady has said it will be great for the neutral. It will be 0-0.
He's right.
And then Ollie, in response to you saying about the centre-backs and whether they were quick, Adam Armstrong to win us a penalty then. And then FM Works is predicting that this will be a good game for Joe Rothwell. I don't know if you saw Rothwell's goal on Saturday, Brady, but he just picked the ball up deep into, or close to the halfway line, ran it through a few players and then slotted it in. So we needed that little bit of magic. So if it is open, if it is a bit end-to-end, then Rothwell might be someone who could hurt Huddersfield. So how are you expecting the game to go, Brady? What's your score prediction?
Well, we had a bit of a disappointing Boxing Day game against Barnsley, conceded in the last minute from a long throw, basically. Some people were saying it was a foul throw, but it is what it is. I think this was the one I was looking forward to. Obviously, we know about the firepower that you guys have got. We concede for fun. We also can score for fun at times. I do think this will be kind of a high-scoring draw. I think 2-2. I think it does kind of depend on who scores first. But again, we've kind of got a little bit of a good record at home, so I could see us scoring first. But as you mentioned, you guys really come back into it at the end. So I wouldn't be surprised if it's 2-1 for a long time, and then you guys kind of get one in the last 5-10 minutes. But 2-2. I think I'm hoping it's a good game. I hope I've not jinxed it.
High scoring. So I'm struggling to make a prediction for this one, I must admit. We've been buoyed by the return of Bradley Dack on Saturday, and I think that's just going to give everyone a lift. And it wouldn't surprise me if Dack starts tonight, actually, Brady. So I'm struggling, but I think the only thing that's certain, if you do get that early goal, I can't see us coming back. I can see you really imprinting your style and how Corbyn wants that to go. So if you do get that early goal, I could see it being something like 2-0 or 2-1 to Huddersfield or something like that. I'm probably going to be saying a draw then. My head's probably saying, it's going to be a tough one tonight. But I'm going to go with my heart. I'm going to say it's a draw, and I think it'll be a good, hard-earned draw in that sense. I'm going to say 1-1, I think. But I might wait and see what the sides are. If Dack's in that starting lineup and we do that when we go live, I might well change that prediction. I'm going to say 1-1, I think. So, yeah. Rovers, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, look at us being positive about our team's draw. No.
Rovers fans, do hit us with your predictions before we end the stream. We've had a couple that are coming in by remotes. Can't see much from the game. Haven't beat Huddersfield since 2014. I think score will be 1-1. Armstrong goal. Kevin Bradshaw. I'm the jinx when it comes to scores. That's why I'm no longer giving predictions. What did you predict last time, Kevin? I don't know what you predicted. And then Alexander Haben, I don't know if you caught the start of the stream. What should Rovers' defence be concerned about? Do you want to just repeat those danger men for us, Brady?
Yeah, definitely. So, just to kind of sum up, Isaac and Benza, he'll probably have a terrible game now. But, he'll be one to watch. Fraser Campbell, again, for his movement. And with the absence of Josh Koroma, he's been playing Juninho Bacuna at left wing, so it'd be interesting to see if he does that. But Bacuna's another one where can score from 30 yards out and can get subbed off at half time. So it just depends what mood he's in. But our front three, as obvious as it says.
Yeah, Juninho, I'm surprised we've not spoken about him. He had an absolute field day at Ewood Park last season. How's he been this season? Because on paper, he looks like one of the best players in the Championship with his skills and trickery. Yeah,
I think, again, he's an incredibly frustrating player. I think the reason being, we all know what he's capable of. He can cause teams problems. He can, like I say, score. Like I think of Charlton, a bit of skill, and he scored from 30 yards out. It's fantastic. But then, you think back to last season and Nottingham Forest, and he got a red card after coming on as a sub with 5 minutes to go. He's so inconsistent, and it's really annoying because of that talent. If he was able to be consistent, he would without a doubt be one of our best players and probably one of the best players in the Championship. I do believe he's that good. He was kind of linked to Rangers in the summer, which was a bit of an odd one, but at Huddersfield, he's only been really good, and I think back to last season consistently when Danny Cowley dropped him out the side and he came on as a super sub. That's when we played you guys, and he was impressive. And he's not really put a run of games together. So yeah, so it's a bit of a difficult one really, because we all know what he's capable of, but it's just it almost feels like it's up to him. And I do kind of wonder, it's not really worked with Cowley. Corbrand's playing him a bit more, but it's not really kicked things off for him, and obviously our previous manager. So you do kind of wonder if Huddersfield's the right club for him, and maybe he needs to look for pastures new. But I can 100% guarantee if he moves on, it will be amazing somewhere else.
Always the way, isn't it? So we've had quite a few predictions coming in just as you were talking there, Brady. So I'll just run through these. FM Works, I'm with Brady 2-2. If Dak plays, then 2-1 Rovers. Alexander Haben saying 2-1 Rovers. I'm assuming this might be a Huddersfield Town fan. HTFC, great preview, going 2-1 Blackburn. Ollie James going 3-3. Callum Robinson, Huddersfield are a great team that tries to play good football. Huge respect, 2-1 Rovers. El Scotty, 2-1 Rovers, need to build momentum going into the new year. Calem, Rovers win 3-0. Kevin's last prediction was a 3-1 win at home to Sheffield Wednesday. No, maybe it was the game before that you predicted because we didn't lose that one. Scott Taylor, 5-1 Rovers. Kevin, no, don't give us a prediction. We don't want a jinx game, so don't worry about that. So we've reached the end of the show there. We've reached the end of On the Other Side. So Brady, thanks ever so much for joining us tonight in this double header that we've done tonight. We are going to attempt a very seamless transition from On the Other Side and into our pre-match stream. So I'm going to put a different overlay on. Brady will let you go and enjoy the game and go and do what you want to before the game. And Rovers fans will just run a little countdown clock, and I'll bring in the panel for our pre-match stream in a moment. So Brady, enjoy the game. Stay safe, and thank you for joining us tonight.
No, thanks for having me, and best luck for the rest of the season after tonight.
Indeed. Thanks very much. All right. See you, Brady. Cheers.
See ya. Bye.
Hignett corner, beyond Bent. Janssen! And Blackburn Rovers are 18 minutes away from a Premiership return.
As far as Stewart, just outside the penalty area, clips it central for David Dunn. David Dunn equalises. It just had to be. Dax corner and it goes. Glance towards goal, and Rovers have taken the lead. And Charlie Mulgrew has scored his 14th of the season. It may well be the goal that sends Rovers back into the Championship.
Good evening, Rovers fans. We can do a seamless transition. It worked. So thank you for joining us on our pre-match live stream before the Huddersfield Town versus Blackburn Rovers game this evening, which will kick off in about an hour and 45 minutes time. That worked really well, going from on the other side straight into the pre-match stream. And you can see I've been joined by Joe, Luke and Alex from Rovers Chat. How are you doing, Joe?
Yeah, not so bad. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. I'm really excited by how easily that just went from on the other side into this. That worked better than what I was planning. So hopefully people have stayed with us for both shows as well. Luke, how are you doing, mate?
Yeah, really good, mate. And yourself? You'll be needing a Red Bull, won't you, at the end of this?
I know, and I've drank my cup of tea already. So if anyone wants to send a virtual cup of tea, then that'll help. And Alex, I think you are sporting the new away shirt, which I'm hoping was a family Christmas present, like I got the home shirt. So how are you doing, mate?
Yeah, I think we're matching just in a column there that quite nicely, I think. It's good to be back on the live streams, and I hope after a pretty terrible year for most people that we've managed to spend some time with loved ones and really kind of put all this into perspective, really. But it's good to be back on and discussing Rovers.
Absolutely. Kevin's called us out, said, not quite, Ryan. You popped up and then disappeared. Yeah, we did. You saw all of our faces there. So there we go. Kevin called us out on popping up and everything. Just to separate on the other side from the pre-match stream, we will just do two things. The first is to remind you of our charity fundraiser for the Salvation Army. We did the Big Fat Rovers quiz last week, last Wednesday, and we've raised £730 so far, which we're really, really happy about. We are going to be doing the raffle draw around New Year's Eve time. So check out our social medias at that point. So please do keep getting those donations in at www.rcdonate.com. And each pound represents a raffle ticket into that home or away shirt draw. The other thing that we will do is remind you that we are sponsored by 6yardsout.com.
The Rovers Chat YouTube channel is proudly sponsored by 6yardsout.com. They've got retro football from every era with mugs, phone cases and much more. They also have plenty of Rovers goods, including apparel with the famous 94-95 season and this season's kit. Check them out using the link in the description below.
Thank you to 6yardsout.com for their very kind sponsorship. So we've just done on the other side. So the first order of business that we're going to do, and Joe, you've kindly got loads of stats on this, so I'm going to be coming to you first. Brady from the Takes That Chance podcast, the Huddersfield fan, has just spoken about how good Huddersfield have been with the early goal this season. Did you just want to talk us through some of the stats that you've picked up on Huddersfield Town, and then we'll go around the panel and see how we think this game might go?
Yeah, sure. So for those of you that don't follow the Rovers Analytics account, I put this out a little bit earlier on. And this is a bit of a pre-match report on the game. Top left is just a little bit hidden, but that's Huddersfield's goals per match period versus Rovers goals per match period. And you can kind of see a breakdown of, on average, when goals are coming this season. And we've got kind of a first half and second half breakdown. So really, we couldn't be any further apart in terms of being two sides of the same coin, really. So almost identical at 60-40, just the other way around. So 60% of Huddersfield's goals are coming in the first half and 40% in the second, and we're the flip side. So 40% of our goals in the first half and 60% of our goals in the second half. You can see there, obviously, 76 to 90 minutes for Rovers has been very fruitful. A higher concentration of goals in that period for us than across any other period for either team. And I think you can also see, from Huddersfield there, 46 to 75 minutes. I think that after half time, there's definitely a little bit of a dip for Huddersfield usually in terms of their attacking output. So, yeah, it's an interesting one. And I am intrigued to hear what people think on this. But the basic deductions that I'd made were, if we go 1-0 down, this could be difficult. And that they will defend deeper. And if we go 1-0 up, I'm pretty confident we can win.
And Rovers fans, as Joe says, let us know in the comments how much you're fearing that first goal. Let us know how you think the game might go if Huddersfield do get it. Alex, I'm going to come to you then. One thing I just commented on with Brady, last season, Rovers were on their own in terms of goals in the first 15 minutes. We were on something like 15, 16, and then I think the next closest was something like Brentford, 8, 9 or 10 or something like that. We've seen that complete shift now, and Joe's stat showed it, where Rovers, and I saw it on Sky Sports earlier on this week as well, we've got the most goals in the final 15 minutes. We've spoken about some of the frustrations on these streams before about what happens to Rovers when we don't get that first goal. Why do you think that might have happened, that we're not starting so quickly anymore? Do you think it's to do with Mowbray playing that more patient possession-based game, trying to break sides down? Are we being less explosive from the off? Why has that happened? It's been a complete polar shift, hasn't it?
I think if Mowbray knew the answer to that question, I think he would have probably tried to solve that problem a long time ago, because I think when we score first in games, I think, well, the stats speak for themselves. Our percentage chance of winning the match goes up exponentially, doesn't it? I think the biggest thing that I would comment on from that graphic that Joe's kindly put together for us for the stream is that I'd like to see where that compares to last season in terms of that breakdown in percentage, really. I think one thing it does put paid to is the myth that Rovers aren't physically fit in matches. I think if you score nearly 50% of your goals in the last half an hour of the games, then you're clearly not physically unfit as a side. So that's certainly a myth that can be put to bed for once and for all. I think it really comes down to the style that we're playing this season. I think it's a more patient style, as you said, Ryan. It's less direct. It's getting in, perhaps being more patient in getting into the box in that first half. And I think, as we've seen, I think sides that do come to Ewood Park in particular and defend for the full 90 minutes, like we saw on Boxing Day, is that teams do tire out. You can't play against us and be that defensive and that alert and that ready to kind of counter-attack and not tire out from chasing the ball for the entirety of the game. So I think there's certainly an element of Rovers kind of tiring teams out maybe that results in that increased percentage as the game goes on. I think I'll go back to what I said. I don't really think there's an obvious answer to why we're not scoring as many early goals. I don't think it's obviously something that the manager intends to do. I think the manager intends to go out and start every game front foot and assert themselves on the opposition and win games comfortably. But obviously there's two sets of 11 players on a football pitch that have both got their tactical approaches. And I think teams are setting out, particularly after probably the first 2 or 3 games where we maybe shocked teams with the way we were playing, is that teams are being much more conservative against us. They're realising that if they open up early on against us, that it could be a very, very long afternoon, and opposition managers' jobs are to identify our strengths and try and nullify them. And I think certainly in the first halves of matches, I think they've largely been successful in that. I think I understand the frustration from the fans about maybe the results this season. I think in terms of style of play, we've made massive progress. There's no doubt about that. But in results, we haven't made progress. I think we've probably stayed about the same to all intents and purposes. So, yeah, there's certainly a lot to ponder and a lot to debate, I think, with Rovers at the minute. But, yeah, I think it's more a factor of opposition teams being more wary of us, if I'm being honest with you.
And Luke, I'm going to come to you in a moment, but I know Joe's got another set of slides for us. So, Joe, if you just bring up the stats for us on goals conceded, I'll then come to Luke for the question around this. If you just talk about this one for us.
Yeah, so kind of on the flip side to that, you can kind of see a little bit about the ways in which we're conceding goals as well. So as much as we are scoring more in the second half of games. We're also conceding more in the second half of games. And I think this kind of comes down to we really push in the second half, and I think it leaves us a little bit more open. So perhaps the reason we're scoring less in the first half is that we're being a little bit more cautious, trying to get to half time or trying to get to at least that 30-minute period, having not gone a goal down because we're worried about the way that we can deal with that. And then we kind of push on, and that's where we score some and we also concede some.
Great. So, Luke, I'm going to come to you on the question then. This one's a difficult one for me. For a side like Rovers that's got the attacking talent that we have, Bradley Dack now returning, Armstrong, Elliott, Brereton, Rothwell, we've got lots of explosive kind of players that can go and hurt teams, but we seem to be favouring this more cautious possession base, as Joe says, maybe getting to half-time, then hitting teams more. For that game plan to work, it's really imperative that we don't concede the first goal, isn't it? And we have spoken about on the stream how difficult it's been for Rovers to have that baseline and that bedrock of a back four plus goalkeeper that's the same every week. For us to have that type of approach, getting to half-time, then going and win the game, it really is on this back five at the moment, isn't it? It's really important that we get that solidified.
Yeah, and I completely get everything that Alex said just then. But for me as well, just to add to that, I think it is a momentum thing, and I think going on from what you've just said there, Ryan. If you look at some of the games when we have scored the early goal, Preston, Coventry, Wickham, Derby, and I know it's not a great comparison. With all due respect to your Derbys, who were in very poor form back then. With Corku about to leave. Coventry obviously went down to 10 men, Wickham new to the league. So it's difficult to make them comparisons, but they are games that we scored early in. I think half of the problem has been that we just haven't had that consistent back five. I mean, you look at the game against Middlesbrough, and that was a really hard fought, awful game to watch, really, at the most. But we were missing about 10 players that game. I think that's pretty much where we peaked, and we had, pairs in the net. So for me, you've got to look at that. You've got to look at the consistency with the back five and the momentum going into games. And I think half the problem is we're going into some of these games when we're taking 10, 15 minutes for these boys just to gel and get used to playing with one another. And you see that with the Ayala and the Lenian sort of partnership that's being built. And I think that's something that will come. But these are two very experienced defenders, and they've obviously had, careers where they might have led in a partnership. Perhaps they might have played with different, styles of players. And for players of that level of experience, it's actually getting used to where you fit into that partnership, having known your place for so many years. So I think it's a very, very difficult one for us to just sit here and say that there's a sole reason for it. I think if it comes down to it in a few games and we have had that consistency and we're still seeing the same issues, then perhaps we've got an answer to that. But at the moment, when we're not seeing a consistent partnership or a consistent back five, I think that's part of the issue for us. When we get the early goal, there's no doubt about it. We go on to control games and we can actually play that style of football where we can keep hold of the ball and do it quite confidently. But nerves kick in playing that kind of football when we know full well we're due conceding.
That's it. And Joe, if you bring up the stats again, I'm going to come to you for one of the final questions on this. So it's quite clear that there's a danger period for Rovers, which is the first 15 minutes and possibly just before half-time as well, which is a higher percentage. If we do get to half-time and it is 0-0 and Mowbray has gone for that patient possession style, there's a couple of stats there really standing out. 4% of goals, 61 to 75 minutes, but then Rovers won, their second highest at 17%. Mm-hmm. How would you approach this game today? Because again, it's come up in the comments and people, making the point, if we haven't yet got that solid back five, it's a bit of a risky game, isn't it? Relying on not conceding that first goal. Would you be more hurting teams with the attacking Arsenal that we've got to try and get that first goal ourselves, rather than playing that game of, well, it's 0-0 at half time, it's 0-0 after 75 minutes? and potentially getting stung in the tail like Sheffield Wednesday did to us, like Rotherham did to us, for example.
Yeah, I think my favourite start to a game this season was that Brentford game, where you could just tell from the kickoff. I think we actually played it short and just went forward, running forward at the start. We didn't take it back to Lenihan and hoof it into the corner. You could just see right from the first second that we were trying to get that first goal. And I think this box formation that we've talked about so much shows that. I think if you see today that we start with that formation, it's clear we're trying to get that first goal. And once we've got it, then we'll maybe revert back to a slightly more defensive 4-3-3. If we start with the 4-3-3, I think you'll be seeing a continuation of trying to not concede first. And it might be that in certain games, like that Brentford game, we feel like it's appropriate to get on the attack and get at them. And certain games we don't. Obviously, we've not had an amazing amount of luck against Huddersfield, especially away. So it'd be interesting to see. I mean, obviously, we'll go into it in more detail. We've got our preferred lineups, so I'll obviously kind of talk through who I want to include then. But yeah, I think I would be more inclined to really go for it and try and get the first goal, and perhaps even start a Bradley Dack and bring him off at half-time rather than on at half-time and finishing the game. But that remains to be seen how much time he can actually do.
And Alex, just for the final word on this, I'll just bring in a couple of comments here. One from Kevin Bradshaw. If we concede first, I can see them doing a Stoke and just playing a flat back 10. But then Callum has made the point, I don't think this Huddersfield side is capable of that. And then just on Callum's comment, certainly Brady, the Huddersfield fan who I've just spoken to, also doesn't think that they're capable of that. He thinks that if Huddersfield do go one up, they will just continue to attack. That's the type of side that they've been. So if we do concede first today, it's not all doom and gloom, is it? You know, Huddersfield are the type of side that are going to go for that second and third goal, which might actually just play into our hands a little bit. So if we do go one down early on, you're not going to be throwing the TV remote away, are you? How do you see the game going?
I will. Why are you speaking for me there? I'll be throwing the remote. Don't worry about that. Yeah, it's broken now, actually, after this Christmas period, but there you go. I think with Huddersfield, I've looked at some of their home results, and I think certainly a theme that I saw was they'd won more home games than I expected them to win, and actually against Watford and Middlesbrough, they're pretty decent results, actually, wins against both those sides, and they weren't like narrow 1-0 wins either. The Borough win was a 3-2 win, and the Watford was a 2-0. So clearly they are capable of scoring goals against some of the stronger sides in this league, and I think if you look at maybe Borough and Watford, they're probably two of the more of the better sides, than more of the defensive type, I would say, rather than like a Rovers, really. I think with Rovers, what we've got to do is, and I think we fell into this trap on Boxing Day, is that we can't let our possession just be passive. I think that's really what one of the biggest issues we have, is that we don't move. We move the ball side to side. Okay, yeah, we keep the ball well, but we don't move it at the speed necessary to cause problems for the opposition and the defences of the opposition. And really, that's where the challenge comes in. That's what the top teams do, is they move the ball around side to side and forward, but they move it at pace. And to move it at pace, you take the risk of losing the ball. And I do think there's that trepidation in the team of losing the ball on the halfway line and the other team breaking away and scoring. And I think we need to maybe, I don't know whether it's a mentality thing. I don't know whether it's just, as Joe said, a nerves to concede the first goal. But certainly I think if you want to score first, you need to have that mentality of not just bumbling the ball around very nicely around the back. It's kind of harmless possession, really. It doesn't really hurt the opposition in any meaningful way. So, yeah, I'll be looking for us tonight to move the ball around as we have been doing, but move it around just a bit quicker. I just want to see a bit more bravery on the ball, really. And I think we're capable of doing that. I don't think it's something that we're incapable of doing. So yeah, I think that's what I want to see tonight, is just a bit more bite in the performance, really, just a bit more urgency, a bit more of that ultra attacking play that we've seen maybe in second halves, as Joe alluded to, where we were so desperate to score the goal that we just find that extra gear. I'd just like to see us maybe try and do that from the first whistle if we can.
And I brought up Stephen Mason's comment as you were talking there, Alex, and then Callum has made the point here, Callum Robinson. It seems like the pace at which we play is dictated by the energy in the team. Mowbray needs to make use of all the subs available at different times to keep the levels high. And I think that is a really fair and valid point there, Callum, absolutely. Particularly when we have got this squad depth available to us now and you're able to bring on the quality of Stuart Downing or Ben Brereton or Bradley Dack like we did on Saturday. And we did see that improvement, to be fair, on Saturday. So, we do need to use that. So we're going to move on from this first topic. And Luke, I'm going to come to you first on this. Certainly, the last few streams that we've done and with some of the frustrations that we've had with the results, I think there is a broad spectrum of opinions on Rovers at the moment in terms of what we were expecting before the season started. Were you expecting us to make the playoffs? The squad depth that we've now got, some of the goals that we've scored in games, and some of the things that have been mentioned tonight about how we do have a lot of possession, but we're struggling to make that bite and have that attacking impetus. Where are you on Rovers at the moment? If you were to just summarise your thoughts on, are you doing what you expected us to do? Where do you think we're going wrong? Do you think we can turn it around in the new year? Where are you?
I think there's no doubt we've progressed under Mowbray. I know that's a word that's been being thrown about a bit, and whether we have progressed, whether we haven't. And even from last season, we've gone from a team that, like we mentioned tonight, we did used to score the early goal, but what Blackburn used to do is what your Stokes, for example, used to do. We used to score an early goal and sit on it and hope that we could, maybe sit out a 1-0 win or grind out a draw in the end. And didn't used to go and sort of capitalise on that early goal as such. But what we're starting to do now is, when we get the early goal, is capitalise on it. The problem's been that we can't always get that early goal. And since relegation in 2012. It's been interesting to see actually that our highest championship finish was 8th. Now, we finished 11th last season. So, I mean, any Rovers fan that comes onto this stream, or wants to make a comment or whatever, you can't honestly say that a team that's just finished 11th is going to go and win the championship. That's not what we were setting out to do this season. We were setting out to progress on last season, which I have no doubt that come the end of the season we will do that. I have every confidence in Mowbray as well. I said it on the last stream, actually, that he's kept hold of Bradley Dack, and that in itself is a massive, massive statement. And it's interesting to see the relationship that he's actually got with the players. You look at Mowbray and Dack, and it's like a father-son relationship. There's a lot of respect there, from both sides. And absolutely from Dack's side, that he sees Mowbray as a father, a teacher, and there's obviously gaining a lot from him. I just think that I don't want to make excuses for maybe where it's gone wrong this season, perhaps, but I absolutely think it's a momentum thing. We were playing really well going into the first international break. We were picking up some quite unbelievable results, 4-0 wins, 5-0 wins, really turning over teams and causing some real damage and making a statement to the league. That first international break really affected us. We seem to just, not really get going after that, and it was almost as if then for the second international break we were crying out for that to come. We really needed that, and that's then where this 12-game thing that we've been looking at recently came in, because we were almost desperate then to pick up points because we'd had such a lull in between them two breaks. I've said it time and time again, but it is absolutely a momentum thing. When we're picking up results and playing well, we're doing it with a team that's consistent and consistently picking the same back five, same 11s. I think if we can get into come the new year, perhaps, hopefully starting today, let's say, and kick on from today, if we can get some consistency and get players, staying fit, great. Hopefully then results might pick up as well, because we've got big players coming back, and Bradley Dack himself is a new signing. And when we're talking about momentum and consistency, it's how much have we actually missed Ben Brereton. He has been phenomenal, and it's no understatement that since he's left, we've been poor as an attacking force as such, and defensively as well. I know a lot's been said about the left hand side of Blackburn's team, and Ben Brereton, we owe a lot of that to him because his defensive capabilities and the trust then that our left back can put in having someone like Ben Brereton in front is quite crucial. So I don't think it's all doom and gloom. Absolutely not. And even Adam Armstrong scored 17 goals last season. He's already got 15 this season. So we're doing something right. We're moving in the right direction. And I think if we can perhaps just now start picking up the results, which I think we will do. We're where we deserve to be on the basis that we haven't beat the teams above us. We've got that opportunity now in the second half of the season, and that's going to move us up the table ultimately. So yeah, I think we're all right.
Just as you were talking there, Luke, you and Ryan Lambert were in perfect harmony as you were talking. Ryan was commenting, having Dak back is great, but let's have it right. Brereton for me this season was a greater loss. So important to how we play. And we've got quite a few comments coming in, which I'll summarise at the end. Joe, you've been quite open on our streams that you weren't expecting Rovers to make the playoffs this season. And you've also done a lot of brilliant stuff on the Rovers Analytics site about Rovers' style of play and our possession and things like that. Have you seen progress from Rovers this season? And do you see plenty for us to be optimistic about going forward?
Yeah, I think obviously with those players returning, Brereton tonight, saying Brereton, he might not start and Dak might not start. In fact, it's probably probable that they won't, but they're back involved, and Travis is, a matter of, I would imagine, days away really, whether that's 7 or 10 maybe, I don't know, but those players are your best players for a reason, and you pay them the most money for a reason, and you pay the most money for them, apart from your academy graduates. So when you're missing them, then it is what it is. But as we get those players back, other teams will get their players back too. So it's a difficult one. I think with all those players fit all year, it's possible that we sneak into the playoffs. But unfortunately, they haven't been fit all year. And as soon as they return, someone else will pick up an injury. So as much as it's great and it's positive and it's great to have those guys back, and Bradley Dack is like having 3 players back really, because he just changes our team. I think it's just about realism, isn't it? In terms of, has the football progressed? I think obviously the football is extremely different to the way it was. Callum Robinson's telling me I have to say Brereton, but I'm not doing that. It's Brereton. Unless Ben's going to come on the show, which he's more than welcome to do, by the way. If anybody that knows him is watching, you can come on and correct us. We'll have a star appearance. Otherwise, I'm just going to keep saying Brereton. For me, I think it's just about realism and basically accepting where we are. But if in terms of has the football changed, yeah. And I think if you can watch a Rovers game this season and a Rovers game from this time last season and not see a difference in the football that we're playing, I don't really think you're opening your mind up to allow yourself to see a difference, if that makes sense. It's completely different football. I'm not saying it's better. I'm not saying it's worse, but it's very different. And the approach is different. And whether that works long term or not, I think you've got to give it time. I'd be interested to see if Tom Tribal perhaps goes back in January and a centre-back comes in on loan. Howard Bellis from Man City maybe is somebody that's already been talked about. A couple of the younger Arsenal centre-backs as well. I'm not holding out hope for a playoff position, but I never expected one. So if we happen to go on a little bit of a run, then, brilliant. And Callum Rose... Oh, crikey. A silent R to keep with Ben's rule. Yeah, that's fine. If Ben, all right then. If Ben comes on the programme, if Ben makes a little appearance and tells me I'm saying it wrong, then it's fine. But until he does, I'm going to keep saying Brereton.
I agree with Joe, Javi.
Joe, no, you're right. I've seen definite progress in how we play. It's just turning that into that stuff that Alex was mentioning, bite in the final third and things like that. But, I've said it on these streams numerous times. Take me back to some of those home games even, but certainly away games where we've not touched a ball or have a shot, and we are miles apart from that. Alex, I'm going to ask you and the Rovers fans watching in the same question. So please do comment on the back of this question, Rovers fans. I think a lot of what is driving the frustration in the fan base at the moment is the fact that there is so much right with this football club at the moment. Off the pitch, a manager we can trust, squad depth, players. But do you think the thing which is really agitating everyone at the moment is this fear about the contracts and players that we might lose, and us going back to that period in 14-15 season where we started to dismantle the squad? So I'm going to ask you this question, and Rovers fans this question. If I could guarantee you now that the likes of Rothwell, Nyambi, Rankin Costello, etc., will sign new contracts, and maybe one player might be sold, would you be happy to play that waiting game to see what this possession-based football that Mowbray's trying to do? Would it just reduce your fears and allow you just to maybe wait until next season for us to make that top 6 push?
I think it's a really good question, Ryan. I think it goes to the heart of where the frustrations lie at the minute with the club. I think, to answer your question bluntly, if you could guarantee me that we'd only lose one of our key players and we rebuild again in the summer, I would be willing to be patient. I think let's take it back to while we've been under Mowbray. We flirted with the playoffs in every season in the Championship. We've had Mowbray. The first season back at the end of January, that fateful Brentford game at half-time, I think we were 6th in the live league table. And then last Christmas as well, we were just before the Wigan game. If we won, we'd break in there. So we've always been flirting around that playoff sort of push region ever since we've had Mowbray in the Championship. But I think in the last 2 seasons, if I'm being brutally honest with you, I never thought we had the style of player or the ability in this team to sustain it. I always felt like if we got in there, it would be a case of a nice romantic trip in the playoffs and a couple of thrashings, and then we'd be playing Championship football again. I think the sense I get from this team is that if we could get in that top 6, I feel like in 3 cup finals, I feel like we probably could get through. It would be obviously an unbelievable achievement. It would be an unexpected achievement, but I think this team has the ability to do that. So that is ultimately, I think, where the frustration from the fans lies. I think any talk of the manager being sacked or leaving is ridiculous, if I'm being honest with you. This is coming from someone who, I will admit I have called for Mowbray to be sacked. I think it was after the Preston game last season when it did look like the club was on a downward trend to me at that particular time. I'll be honest with you on that. But the club stuck by the manager, and since then there has been a massive improvement in styles of play and the way the club's operated in the recruitment side of the game as well. So yeah, I certainly see improvements there. And the one big positive for me from this Christmas period was Dak signing that new contract. I think it did ease a lot of the fears I had, even though it was a player that we could have extended by 12 months. I felt like if we'd activated the extension, it would have shown really that there was no prospect of a deal being agreed. Really, those extensions are only triggered if the club wants to protect its asset and basically flog them straight away, really. It's very, very rare that clubs are forced into making extensions and then they subsequently sign a contract. It's usually done as a desperation measure, really. So, yeah, I was really, really glad about that. And what I hope we see for the rest of this season is you sign up your Nyambes, you sign up your Joe Rankin Costellos, you sign up your Joe Rothwells, your Lewis Holtbys to new improved contracts. And obviously, come the summer, if that does mean that we have to dispose of an Adam Armstrong because we can't risk losing him for any less than he's valued at in this market, then so be it. But one thing I want to see from the club this time is not go through periods of feast and famine where it seems like we don't sell a player for 3 years and then we dismantle the squad in an 18-month period, because that's what got the club into the mess that it was in when Marbury took over in the first place. So if we can get to a sustainable level where we maybe sell one player a season like Brentford are doing consistently and then recruiting well behind that, then and as Callum says, not for 10 million. Yeah, I agree. More like
I love how he's not brought up that
25,
comment. He's not brought it up. I'll do it for him. He doesn't want people to see.
Time.
I've gone. I was going to scroll through everyone's comments. You know, I don't want to be right on that one, but just saying.
So, who Jan Hill did?
Have you stolen that? Has somebody already made that one?
Yeah, I've seen it in the comments. Brilliant. Callum Robinson.
Carry on, Alex.
So you're asking the most negative Rovers Chat fan here, do you stick with the manager? And I'm saying yes. So that gives you some indication of the level of ridiculousness that calls for sacking the manager would be at this point. I think, Mowbray's job, in my opinion, is under no danger whatsoever. If we continue to show that level of performance that we have shown this season, then I don't have any qualms about giving him another season if the squad stays intact. I think I think me and Ryan, we alluded to this in earlier streams, that we did feel that this season was a make or break season for Mowbray. I think it's probably this season or next season, I would say. If it comes a point where you do have to say, right, we can't keep saying, oh, it's okay to push towards the playoffs or aspire to push towards the playoffs. When are we actually going to turn around as a fan base and say, right, the expectations this season are top six, and we are willing to put the manager's neck on the line, really, and say, this season, if we do not reach the top six, it's been an underachievement. I'd like to see the club maybe not be on, I would say, easy street and happy to not be in a crisis, because I think, I would say since relegation from the Premiership in 2012, was it? The club has always had that feel of turbulence about it. And I think whenever we've had stability at the club, it's always felt like we've been so reluctant to maybe throw that stability away that we've maybe not pushed the people at the club as hard as they can and put enough pressure on them to achieve. I think all the people at the club want to achieve, but I think maybe there's that sense of, we maybe don't want to upset the apple cart and go back to that crisis kind of state that we were in when Mowbray joined. So I think, I think it's a happy medium between the two states that we've been in before. Is the current state of kind of stability where you feel like the manager's not under threat if he loses 10 in a row, and also the sacking 6 managers in a season. And I think you kind of need to find that middle ground between those two. And I think if we do that, I think there's no reason why we can't push for the playoffs. And ultimately, we're never going to have the top 3 budgets in this division. If Rovers want to get promoted from this division, we're going to have to punch above our weight. We're never going to have the biggest budget in this league. So you can talk about, Mowbray will be overachieving, but if Rovers ever want to get back into the Premiership, that's what we're going to have to do. We're going to be coming up against clubs that with far bigger budgets than us. So Mowbray's job is to overachieve. If Mowbray can't overachieve with this squad, then we will not get promoted, because we will not have one of the top 3 budgets in this league. And I think that's really what I would say on the whole matter. Keep Mowbray. I'm happy with what we're doing. If we need to sell a player in the summer to keep doing what we're doing, so be it. But let's keep the show on the road and hope that the squad gets stronger and stronger as we go on.
So just to close off this part of the discussion, just with some of the comments, as I promised to do, Alexander Haben, as long as we improve on last season, I'm happy. I hope we get in the playoff mix, but I'm not expecting or demanding it this season. I think we need to get in the playoff picture next season. Matt, there's a massive Travis size hole just behind the midfield. We've missed that tenacity, and it will do the team the world of good when he's back. Just going through the comments. Ryan Lambert, I'm not too worried. Every championship club in some form of financial difficulty. Callum Robinson, good question from Jan Hilderd, which is great. FM Works, JRC and Nyambi and Rothwell are a must. Nyambi is a Premier League defender for sure. Can see him at Newcastle or Palace. Ollie James, I'll pose another question regarding contracts. If we can't afford to renew contracts without selling a player, I would suggest an alternative of ending the loan contracts for Tribal and Douglas instead. We certainly spoke about that on Saturday, Ollie. And Scotty, cracking speech, Alex. Agree with that. And then just two more comments. Sorry. Big worry is the squad will break up. Not Mowbray's biggest fan, but he definitely deserves credit for now having players worth decent money. The squad will break up even if Mowbray stays. So, yeah, it's certainly lots of varying views in the fan base. So we've got five.
I like, Ryan, how you've cut out the wanting me as director of football. I think you are horrified at that thought, and I am equally horrified, and I agree with you on that.
There we go. Look. Oh, that one. If we had Alex as director of football.
Yeah.
There we go. We've got those comments in.
By the way, I'm not applying for the job and I won't be qualified for it.
So we've got 5 minutes until the team news lands. Luke, I'm going to ask you to speak on my behalf if you can. Both you and I have put Bradley Dack in our starting 11s. So your reasons are probably similar to mine. Why have you gone for Bradley Dack in your preferred 11 today?
Exactly for the reasons that Joe was sort of stating earlier on. I think if Bradley Dack's going to play, 45 minutes to an hour today, it's got to be from the start. We've got to have that guile, tenacity, that intelligence, that invention that Bradley Dack brings. So maybe open Huddersfield up tonight, get the early goal, and then we can go on and then just control the game. Bradley Dack's crucial, and I think we're not doing so well at the moment. I know a lot of our goals have been scored later on, as Joe put out with the great work that he did earlier. But chasing games isn't working for us. We're not picking points up from losing positions as such. Certainly not wins. So I think the best thing for us to do today is to let Dack and Brereton link up very well.
Luke, he's not come on the yet, man.
I'm sorry, Brereton. Let them link up. Let them do what we haven't seen them do this season at all, other than for the cameo last game, and let's get that early goal. I've also gone with the same back five as last game. I know Douglas maybe didn't have the best game, but like I said, we need to keep it consistent there. That is the 5 positions that need to be consistent.
So Joe, I think we're going to bring up my preferred 11 next. And if I go that way on the camera, you can see my face in the amended graphics. So apologies, everyone, that's not doing what we needed it to do. I went similar to you, Joe. Bradley Dack proved that he's fit enough on Saturday, made an impact. So why not start him in this game, particularly if that Doncaster game might get postponed because of Doncaster's COVID-19. This is a chance for Dack to play a game. I think Birmingham will be a tougher proposition, and I'd be more worried about the Birmingham game and him potentially getting roughed up a little bit in that game. So this is one that I want Dack to start. The only difference, I've gone for Bradley Johnson for a bit of steel in midfield, just to linchpin Rothwell and Dack a little bit. But you and I went for roughly the same side there. Luke, Joe, talk us through your preferred 11.
So I didn't start Bradley in mine. Mainly because I don't think he will start. I think I probably would rather see him start and come off at half-time than come on at half-time. But I've tried to go for realism as well as what I would prefer, maybe. I think I probably view this more as a box formation. Downing and Holt be a little bit deeper. Rothwell and Elliott picking up the spaces in behind, and Brereton and Armstrong bouncing off each other. And then I think, you've got your Dacks that can come on, and also, maybe a John Buckley. And I don't technically know who's travelled. I think we know that Tom Tribals has travelled today, which is interesting, obviously, because of his lack of inclusion in the last game and rumours that he might head back. So, yeah, I've gone for this, really. I think Stuart Downing's done more than enough to earn a start. And I would like to see Holt be back in the side. Yes, he had a little bit of a dip in form, but at the end of the day, this guy's played Champions League football for a reason. And if he wasn't playing particularly well, we need to figure out why and make sure that changes, because much like Barry Douglas, we need to make sure that these players are working for us, not just have them sat on the bench because it didn't go well for a couple of games. We're paying them a decent wage, and he should be a staple of our side for me. And I do like the way that he links up with Elliott on that side. So I think it's important that we use all the the cogs that we've got, really. And again, with Brereton, it's 50-50. Will he start? Will he not? And if not, I'd probably go Dolan. But that just says probably something about my thoughts on Sam Gallagher at the moment.
And just to bring in Ryan Lambert's comment here, would be very, very surprised if Dak started. Wouldn't be appropriate from a phased return to play. So yeah, I agree with that, Ryan. I think what I'm looking at though is like what Joe alluded to. If he starts and then maybe comes off, we've got the likes of Sam Gallagher, who's the plan B that we've been speaking about for a while, that we've lacked that option of Gallagher coming on. So that's maybe the change that I'd do. Gallagher on for Dak, maybe bring Elliott into the hole and have Gallagher in that front three. That's possibly where my mind was at. So rather than bring Dak on, bring him off instead. But totally take on board, your point there, Ryan. And just before the team news breaks, Alex, your preferred 11 there. I can see you've gone for Tom Tribal and also Bradley Dack as well. Apologies, you went Dack as well.
Sorry, I'm muted, guys. Sorry about that. I went for Dak for similar reasons to Luke, and I think what we mentioned earlier on in the show was starting strong. And my idea of starting strong was playing as full strength a team as you possibly could from the first whistle. So that's why I went with Bradley Dack from the start of the match. I think he's going to have to play football to get fit, and the only way of getting him fit is by playing him from the start of matches. So I think the next stage would probably be to play between 45 and 60 minutes and then build him up from there. He needs to start sometime, so why not tonight? And I think the team news is out, so I'll, if I've not jumped the gun there and made Joe rush for his life to get the ticker along the bottom of the screen, then I might hand over to him now.
Well, yeah, I was attempting to try and get the banner ready, but if I come away to remove your graphic, the banner goes. But the team news is out. And yeah, I've got a feeling that me and Alex are going to be in some strong agreement about how we feel about this team. But I'm going to let Ryan take the lead so that I can get this team scrolling.
So Joe will do the ticker. There are 3 changes for Rovers. So we've got Thomas Kaminsky in goal. It looks like it's the box formation, according to Rich Sharp. So it's Bell at left back in place of Douglas. And I know there was a comment from Ollie James here. Surprised you're all going with Douglas. I think he's been our weakest player this season. I want to see Downing there. So Amari Bell's there, Ollie. So what do you think about that? And Michael, actually, I come in there hoping Bell starts ahead of Douglas and Dolan instead of Gallagher. So Kaminsky in goal, Bell left back, Ayala, Lenihan, Nyambi right back. Looks like 2 holding midfielders in Johnson and Tribal. Then Rothwell and Elliott behind Brereton and Armstrong in that box formation. And then I need to find who the subs are. Subs are, I've got them here. Pears, Douglas, Davenport, Downing, Buckley, Dack, Holtby, Dolan and Gallagher, which looks like a really strong bench, actually, looking at that. So really pleased with that. So, Luke, I'm going to come to you first. You and I were pushing for Bradley Dack to start. As Ryan Lambert alluded to, we were probably hoping, more than expecting Dak to start. But what do you think about the team and that potential box formation?
Yeah, it was a hope thing for Dak to start, really, I think. It's the Johnson and Tribal together again, which is the difficult one. I know Joe did so much work on comparisons on the other stream. I won't take his thunder because I'm sure he wants to speak about that later on in this stream as well. But certainly they're 2 very similar players, as we well know. Douglas, yeah, completely get what the comment said earlier. He has been, off form, let's say, in previous games. But I would have liked to see him how he fared with Brereton in the side today. I would have just liked to see the impact that had on his overall performance and whether he had a more comfortable and rounded performance at the end of it. It'd be interesting to see, because we obviously brought Douglas in for a reason, and that was for exactly the sort of games that we were looking at, your Sheffield Wednesdays. If he can deliver the perfect ball, then we can unlock a team like that and try something slightly different. So he does offer you something. He just hasn't offered it yet. So I would have liked to see that, and again, consistency I would have liked to have seen. But Bell can come in there and hopefully take the pressure off Douglas, take him out of the firing line today. box formation, it'll be interesting to see. I want to see the fluidity. It'll be good to see Rothwell in a more advanced position and just see how he links up with Elliott and with Brereton up there as well. I just want us to just go and attack Huddersfield today. And similarly, I think the one time that we've seen the box formation from the start really work was that Brentford game, and Rothwell started that game so lively. So good to see him advanced, and be interesting to see how lively the start is today. And I am hoping for an early goal. I just hope the Johnson Tribal pairing isn't a negative one.
Rovers fans, let us know what you think about the team. I can see some comments coming through, but let us know what you think, particularly the changes that have been made. Joe, you are a big advocate of the box formation and have covered that for us in some great detail on the streams. With Bradley Dack just returning to fitness and building back up in that phased manner, are these four on paper the best four for the box formation for Rovers?
Not for me, no. I would have Downing and Holt be in a box formation, and it's why I don't actually agree that we will see a box formation today, at least to start with. I think perhaps, was it Rich Sharp that had suggested that's what we might see?
Yeah.
Not to go against Rich, I don't reckon it will be box. I think what we'll probably see is Rothwell slightly ahead of Johnson and Tribal, or Tribal deep and Johnson a little bit further forward with Rothwell, Elliott coming off the right, Brereton coming off the left. I can't see Tribal and Johnson playing as like a double pivot in a four in a box. I don't think they've tried that before. I can't really see them doing it. And if they were going to do that, then no, I wouldn't say it's the best way you do that box. I think that box needs creativity. So, Downings, Holtby's, even Jacob Davenport's perhaps provide a little bit more creativity. I share Luke's frustrations with Tribal and Johnson being in the same team. I'm not a huge fan of it. And I also really think more patience is and was needed with Douglas as well. I mean, the whole point of signing a left back is that the left back that we had seemingly wasn't good enough. And now we're going back to using him, thinking, it's almost like going back to a cheating ex, isn't it? I don't know why we're expecting a different outcome here. Amari has been with us for a while, and I'm not trying to be negative, and I'll back up everything I say. I think most people share those frustrations, and some suggestions: will Douglas be returned? I mean, yes, I think he's had a bad couple of games, but what he can provide for us in terms of creativity and set pieces, and for me, I don't think he deserves to be dropped, although I think probably Bell deserved a little chance. But I don't know why we would expect it to be any different, having been out the side for so long. So many frustrations with that lineup for me, and it's definitely changed my thinking on what I think the outcome of the game will be.
The only thing I'll say on Barry Douglas, we saw it yesterday, for example, with Leicester. I saw that Jamie Vardy didn't start for Leicester. He's in his 30s, like Barry Douglas. The games are coming thick and fast, and maybe it's just the recovery time for Barry Douglas. Maybe that's what Mowbray's chosen to do. So that's the only thing I will say on that. Holtby as well on the bench. He's in his 30s as well. Could just be down to pure recovery. Just to cover the Huddersfield team, before I come to you, Alex, it's Schofield in goal for them. Pippa, Toffolo, Hogg, Janino Bacuna, O'Brien, Eiting, who is a player they're very excited about at Huddersfield on loan from Ajax. And Benza, one of the danger men who Brady outlined. Fraser Campbell, Naby Sarr and Edmonds Green. And then they have got a whole host of injuries that they've tweeted out. Joel Pereira, Tommy Elphick, Diakabi, Stearman, Karoma, Danny Ward, Christopher Schindler, Kieran Phillips, all on the sidelines. So Huddersfield carrying as many injuries as we have. As I say, it's a running theme in the Championship at the moment. I'll pick up everyone's comments in a moment once I've come to Alex. Alex, your thoughts about the side and the personnel in there? How are you feeling?
I can't lie, I'm pretty disappointed with that lineup. I expected it to be a bit more offensive, a bit more adventurous, particularly after Mowbray commented after the Sheffield Wednesday game that they were 2 away games that he thought we could win. And I thought, in light of that, he would go with a much more offensive lineup than he has done. To me, it's quite reminiscent of the Luton away game. Very similar lineup for me. And in that game, I thought the first half we were particularly lacklustre. Actually, it was one of our poorer first halves this season. And so I really hope we don't have a repeat of that tonight. I think we've spoken just throughout this stream about getting on the front foot early doors, fast passing, accurate passing, forward passing, putting pressure on the back line. I'm not sure that Johnson and Tribal together is the formula to do that. And I think we've spoken about it several times on these streams that not only does Johnson and Tribal not work as a pair, that when they have played together, they've tended to be played, in my opinion, the wrong way around, where, one deeper than the other when, it should be the opposite way. So, yeah, I do have big concerns about that. I think the other changes he's made, I think Douglas can't complain about being taken out of the team, really. I think if Mowbray ever had an opportunity in terms of squad management to, give Amari Bell his opportunity to play, then it would obviously be tonight, wouldn't it, after recent performances? So I can see what he's done there with Bell. I can't really complain about that. And then obviously Sam Gallagher dropping out for Ben Brereton, which is one of those where it's like, well, if Brereton can play, why can't Dak? It's like, and I know Brereton's not been injured for as long as Bradley Dack has, but I still think Mowbray's going to have to pick a game where Bradley Dack starts. You can't just protect him and protect him and protect him. We're going to have to come to a point where we actually do decide to start the player. So I can't lie, I am disappointed about that lineup. And as Joe said, it has changed my predicted outcome of the game, to be honest with you. And I'm sure we'll go on to talk about that. But I can't lie, yeah, I'm pretty disappointed with that. I thought more would be a bit more adventurous with it, really. And that's all I can say.
Well, we'll get everyone's predictions in a moment. Certainly looking into the comments. Ollie James, Johnson and Tribal in the same side, I don't like. I think they're too familiar. Alexander Haben, not happy with Johnson and Tribal both playing. Says to me Mowbray doesn't trust the defence. Gaz Israel, not a great amount of mobility speed in that centre mid with Johnson and Tribal. Prefer it when it's just one or the other. Fingers crossed I'm wrong. Alexander Haben, will we have enough going forward? Lachlan Kearney, Downing deserves to start. Can't have Tribal and Johnson together, in my opinion. Uzair Mathia, I'd have started Downing and Holtby ahead of Johnson and Tribal. We know exactly how Huddersfield plus every other side will set up. That first goal is crucial, and we need our most creative side to unlock. Then I'm just going to scroll down. Apologies, because we have had a few. Lee Pickering hopefully allows Rothwell a lot of freedom to run at the Huddersfield defence, and we get some joy either directly or indirectly from this. Ryan Lambert, team in keeping with the stats, wholesale attacking changes second half to push for win the plan. Yeah, Ryan, I think that's where I'm at with this side. At the start of this stream, we picked up Joe's stats and maybe trying to get to that half-time period and then going for it. Certainly the thing that I'm taking as a huge positive is what we have on the bench and the ability to change the game. You can bring on Gallagher, you can bring on Dak, you can bring on Dolan. You've got Downing, you've got Holtby. We've got a lot of people that we can bring on to change the outcome of this game. But what we've absolutely commented on is it's completely dependent on us getting to that halftime period or better with that scoreline intact. And, maybe Huddersfield will be looking at that going, oh, they've gone for Johnson and Tribal together. Maybe Rovers are fearing us a little bit. So I can see why Alex, Joe, you two perhaps have changed your opinion on the game. So Rovers fans, before we end the stream, therefore, please let us know your score prediction now that you know the team and you've seen that. Luke, I'm going to come to you first and we will pick up everyone else's predictions in the comments before we end the stream. So Luke, what's your score prediction for today?
It's Tuesday night and I think there must be something in my water because I'm going to go 3-0 Rovers.
3-0 Rovers?
Look at that. 3-0 Rovers. It's worked for me once this season. Let's do it again. Come on.
Excellent.
I think I just really want Armour to get back on the score sheet and hopefully just kick off a bit of a scoring run, really. So I'm hoping for that. I'm hoping he gets on the score sheet, and Bradley Dack, if he comes off the bench with any time left in this game, he's got goals in him, hasn't he? So I think Dack will get one today and get us all excited for the new year.
So 3-0 Rovers from Luke. Joe, what's your score prediction?
For the first time ever on the streams, I'm predicting a loss today. I've never predicted a loss in a pre-match stream, but I'm going 2-1 Huddersfield. I'm just not feeling it today, not at all.
So what was that score? Sorry, my line went a bit silly.
Oh no, it's 2-1 loss for me for the first time.
2-1 loss from Joe. Ooh, so Alex, your score prediction?
I always have to be the most negative, don't I? I just can't predict a 2-1 loss after that. I'm going to go 2-0 Huddersfield, and I'll qualify that by saying I think it's a ground that I don't think we're particularly good at. I can't remember us winning there apart from under Gary Bowyer, that one good run at the end of that season. It's not been a fruitful venue for us, really. Not only that, but again, Christmas, we just don't seem to perform to the levels that we have prior to Christmas. That's continued this season. And yeah, that lineup probably just adds to that. So I'm going to go with 2-0 Huddersfield tonight. And I just think that at the minute, it seems like we need to work really, really hard to score. It just seems like we have to work as hard as ever to kind of get one goal, and the opposition kind of, you just get two without any effort, really. And I think that might be borne out tonight. I hope I'm wrong. I hope the reverse psychology kicks in and Luke's prediction fires home. But yeah, I'm not confident tonight.
Okay, 2-0 Rovers from Alex. I'm actually, since I really didn't know what the score was going to be, and then as I've done on the other side, and I've chatted this through with you guys, and we've had the comments coming in, I'm not fearing Huddersfield getting that first goal because of what Brady said and how he said they're going to play. Huddersfield aren't going to sit in against us, and there are still going to be those holes that we can exploit. So I actually am now leaning towards Rovers coming from behind to win 2-1. So even if we go 1-0 down and concede that early goal, I can see us doing it. So I'm going to say 2-1 Rovers. That is my score prediction. Just the more, as that's just digested in my head and I've had this hour or so on the stream, that's where I'm going. So 2-1 Rovers for me.
Good man.
There we go. So I think Ollie James is the first prediction. We've had 0-0 at halftime. Dak to come on at halftime and get the winner in the 87th minute. Kaminsky to score in the next game. Lachlan, Kearney, Dak and Dolan on in the second half could cause some damage. Jack Hamer's gone 2-1 Rovers. Lachlan went for 2-2. Michael Pearson, 2-0 Rovers. A breeze. Ollie James is asking if there's vodka in your water, Luke.
No, it's not vodka. It's just water. Good stuff.
FM Works has gone 2-2. Stephen Mason, I'm assuming, is going 2-1 Rovers, but comment again, Stephen, if you're saying 2-1 Huddersfield. Scott Taylor, 2-1 Rovers. Then we've got some grieving for Joe's predictions. A loss, Joe, sad face.
First time ever. We can't win every week, can we? You predict every week. I'd be very naive.
Was it Mark Lawrenson who didn't predict Liverpool to lose for like 3 years or something daft like that on the BBC predictor? So further mourning from Joe Harvey. How dare, or Joe Havey actually. I don't know if he's played on his arm. There we go. Joe Havey, how dare you? Never.
Well, listen, if we go and win now, then it'll be a good thing. So, doesn't mean it's what we want.
As Abby Sahara's picked up there. Since Joe and Alex predicted a loss, we will win big. Kevin's still refusing to give his jinx score. Good on you, Kevin. And there we go. El Scotty went for I'm going to agree with Joe, 2-1 Huddersfield. Alexander Haben, 2-0 Rovers win due to substitutions. Callum Ryan, don't do it. Gaz Israel, think we'll win 2-1, and I can see an Ayala header from a corner for the winner. Come on, Rovers. Ryan Lambert, I'm with Luke. 3-0, a brace from Tribal and a Johnson goal.
I think I'm being mugged off there.
Is this Rovers Chat? T Mason, 2-2 draw, goals in both sides, but still feel defensive frailties will hamper us. So I've got to say that's possibly, in terms of everyone's comments and the panels as well, probably the least confident I think our fan base has been before a game. So I actually think the squad that we've got available to us today is one of the strongest we've had available all season. So interesting that we're not feeling too confident. Just before we finish, guys, I just want to do a really, really urgent push on our Salvation Army fundraiser. Sorry, I can't get my words out. We've raised £730 so far, but that total hasn't moved very far for the last few days. So if you were thinking of donating and you do want to get yourself into that raffle, either donate yourself or please let other Rovers fans know about this shirt. Every pound that you donate to rcdonate.com is worth a raffle ticket into the in for the home or away shirt. So if you donate £30, it's 30 raffle tickets. If you donate £10, it's 10 raffle tickets. And we will be doing that on New Year's Eve. We'll do the draw. It would be absolutely amazing if we could get to 1,000, which we probably won't get to now. Let's see if we can get to £800. That's a great figure for the Salvation Army. And maybe all you Rovers fans that have predicted us to lose tonight, if we do win, maybe donate a £5 into the cause. Joe, Alex, you up for that?
Well, I was going to say, I mean, there's definitely that. I was just going to suggest as well, I think one thing we could definitely look at doing, if you give me 1 second, I reckon we could probably, for anybody that missed the Big Fat Quiz of the Year, we can go on one proper push with the charity and give you a little bit of a treat from the quiz if you haven't seen it, and maybe play out one of our little Christmas videos that we've received. What do you reckon?
Yeah, we'll do that. We'll do that to close the show tonight.
I think
that's
we
a
should.
good one. And Joe and Alex will be donating to RC Donate if Rovers win tonight. Is that what we also agreed?
When Rovers win tonight.
Okay.
What have I been rocked into here?
Giving lots of money to charity.
There you go. Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah. I thought it was expensive enough. I don't know how you think I afford all this. Yeah, go on then. I'll If I'm incorrect and Rovers win tonight, I will donate £5 to charity.
Excellent. There we go. You've heard it first. Joe and Alex will donate if Rovers win tonight. So brilliant. Before we play out the little message that we've got from a Rovers or former Rovers player, we've had a couple of more predictions in here. Matthew Buckle, 2-1 Rovers, Nyambi brace. Now, if that happens, Matthew Buckle, I'll
donate £300 to charity.
Callum Robinson has gone 4-0 Rovers. When we win big away. Ryan Lambert, I'm with you, Ryan. Despite our team, are Huddersfield good enough to warrant all this negativity? I think we've got a strong squad tonight. And then Daniel Seaward, 1-0 to the boys. So Alex, Joe and Luke, thanks for joining us this evening.
Thanks
very much. Fantastic. Cheers, Ryan.
No worries.
Thank you.
I've survived a marathon of On the Other Side and a pre-stream, and it went seamlessly, so I'm feeling very proud of myself. Rovers fans, if you don't follow us on Twitter, it is Rovers_chat on Twitter. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel, which is Rovers Chat. And we will be live with our post-match stream probably about 10 p.m. tonight. So come and join us as we dissect what hopefully will be a Rovers win a little bit later on. And we can obviously call Joe and Alex out to make that donation to rcdonate.com. But we will close the stream with a video, as promised, from Joe, which is from a former Rovers player. And yeah, get donating to rcdonate.com. Bye all.
Rovers fans, how are you? Brad Friedel. I miss you. It's been a long, long time. I'm just here to wish a Merry Christmas, and if anyone can donate to the Salvation Army, that would be wonderful. A little bit different settings here in Miami than it is up in Blackburn, but I wish you well, and I hope the team can get up to that Premier League very soon. Merry Christmas, happy holidays, everyone.